Hi everyone. I am going to talk about the crisis/global issue that I have been studying all semester, and that is the world hunger crisis having to do with poverty and things of that nature. I think that there is not a large enough population of educated people on this topic, which is why I chose to do it. And throughout this semester, I have learned so many things about it. So I've gained so many resources, made connections with professionals in the field, and have kind of just been able to get a better knowledge on the topic as a whole. So many factors contribute to world hunger, those being conflict, war, disease, and inflation. War and inflation kind of go hand to hand because of the Ukraine and Russia war. Um, because of this war, there's been an inflation of prices on food, gas, houses, all across the globe. It doesn't matter if you're a third world country or just the United States. Everyone has felt it, and it's made it that much harder for people who are in need or do have lower incomes to purchase food for their families to provide for them. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit harder than it ever has. In 2020, when it came to fruition, sorry, um, just because everyone was in quarantine and people were getting laid off their jobs, so it was getting really stressful for families in their homes to provide for their kids, children, wives, husbands, and just being in isolation, it was hard mentally. So if these people in these third world countries or lower income countries, if we were feeling it in the United States, they were feeling it 10 times harder, so to say. So more specifically, there are 48 countries currently who are in poverty and who have hit the hardest, and a lot of those are in the sub-Saharan African region of the world. And so I decided to research some policies on this topic and ways that we can create a better kind of well-being for these people who are in need. So I think firstly that trade needs to be maintained at a higher rate. Without trade, we're not able to purchase goods and services throughout the country, and if we increase the amount of trade, it would just make it that much easier for people to get food and the resources that they need. I also think there needs to be an increase in food production just in general, and there are many ways we can do this. One of them that I was looking at and researching was urban farming. So that's farming vertically, so to say, in cities rather than in rural areas because cities hold the most people within the country. It would also allow an increase in jobs for these countries who are living in poverty. They'd be able to have jobs and source food for their families because they have an easy way of income right in the center of their home or their city. And I also think that there should be climate control for agriculture to try and prolong the sustainability of crops and goods being shipped out of countries. So if we were able to find a way to preserve these foods for longer, we would be able to have them on not back order, so to say, but we'd be able to create a larger amount of them, knowing that they wouldn't go bad in the long run when they are being shipped across the globe. So those were just some things that I learned throughout the process of this semester, and just how much children are actually in need of food more so than adults, because children need an adequate amount of nutrients a day more than adults because they are not fully developed, and without this amount of nutrients they will not be able to mature to their full adult selves. Bone density will decrease, organs will start to fail. It's just a really sad situation with these children getting one meal a day. It's hard for their families to provide for them, especially in countries where the culture is kind of to have more kids, so families can have 6 to 7 kids rather than United States maybe having 2, 3, or 4, and that's just that more mouths to feed. I also think that the food insecurity now has been on a rise. I know it has been for half a decade based off the research that I was looking at. And with everything going on across the globe, it's important that we need to band together, especially now because this problem is just getting worse day in and day out. And by capitalizing on all the policies that I had mentioned previously, it will give us an avenue to start sourcing food out of this country or out of the major providers of food throughout the country to these lower level countries. Um, it is a global emergency, and I do think that it needs to be talked about more. There are articles on it and more policies that I was looking at, but I just don't think there's enough noise on it currently, and we kind of need to band together to help out the people that are in need, and it will help decrease the number of hungry families across the globe. And through extensive research and funding opportunities, it can not be the solution, but it could be the start of the solution within the next decade on how to kind of approach this problem and the things that are surrounding it. So I really enjoyed learning about the world hunger crisis, and with my interviews that I had, I met some really great people within the industry that are currently working to help solve this problem. So I'm going to reach out to them and try and get more insight on things that I can do and ways to help not get rid of it, because that's almost entirely impossible, but to help as much as I can. Thanks.